Hello, welcome back to Learn Economia. Today we are going to discuss the concept of macroeconomic analysis and let's have a look onto the same. So moving to the idea of macroeconomic analysis, we need to first of all understand about the term macroeconomics. So coming to the idea of macroeconomics, it would be a branch of economics that deals with aggregates. So what happens is that it will deal with the whole economy, or it considers the economy as a whole. So here we consider the aggregate economic variables and their interrelationship at the global level. So we will be considering the aggregate economic variables like the national income, GDP, unemployment scenario, inflation scenario, and so on. So why are we actually dealing with macroeconomics? It would be helping us to have an understanding related to the overall performance of our economy, and also it will be helping us to identify the trends, certain trends of the economy. It will assist us to have some data to deal with the policy formulation so as to attain some economic objective. So coming to the key aspects that we would be having under macroeconomics, we will be having several aspects to be considered. So let's have a look onto these one by one. The first aspect that we can have here is called GDP. That is the gross domestic product. So what does it mean by GDP here? It would be a measure that takes into consideration the total value of all the goods and services which are produced within a country's borders within a given period. So we call it as the domestic product, as in the gross domestic product. So we call it as domestic because we consider something which happens within the domestic territory. And since we are dealing with gross, we actually take into consideration the role of depreciation as well. It's not like net domestic product, it's gross domestic product. So depreciation element 2 also would be counted here. So altogether, it would be measuring the total value of the goods and services which are produced within the domestic territory of a nation in a given period. And usually it would be an year. And why we are going for GDP? It would be actually providing us some assessment related to the overall size as well as growth of the economy. And thus, by looking on to the GDP of a nation, we will be getting some understanding related to the economic health as well as performance of the nation. And this is one of the important subject matter of macroeconomics. Having discussed the case with GDP, let's come to the next important aspect to consider here, that is unemployment. So we have to understand that when we consider unemployment, there have been something called different types of unemployment. So different types of unemployment means there would be structural unemployment, frictional unemployment, disguised unemployment, seasonal unemployment, and so on. So in all these cases, what happens is that people would be searching for work. They would be actively searching for job, but there will be a situation of no job. In the case of disguised unemployment, it's something different because we won't be actually utilizing the complete skill of a person. In the case of disguised unemployment, that too is a hidden kind of unemployment here to consider. So why are we actually studying unemployment, and what would be the importance of analyzing unemployment? When we analyze unemployment, we will be able to understand the scenario of labor market. We will be able to know the conditions of the labor market, and we will be able to know which sector is actually contributing more to the labor market and things like that. So always it's very, very important to consider that high unemployment in a highly populated nation would mean that underutilization of labor resources. If there is high unemployment in a highly populated nation, that means you are not utilizing the labor resources properly, and for the very same reason it will be leading to something called inefficiency, because you have population but this population is not Actually, but the population is not utilized for the development of the nation, and that is again studied under macroeconomic analysis. Now, the next aspect that we have here is called inflation. So, what does it mean by inflation? It shows the sustained rise in general price level, sustained rise in prices. So, we need to take into consideration the role of inflation here because it will be having its impact on various other aspects of the economy, like the purchasing power of money, like income distribution, the economic stability, and so on. And for the very same reason, it's very, very important to analyze how inflation is affecting different sections of population, how it is influencing the purchasing power of different categories of population, how it is influencing something called value of money. So changes in inflationary scenario will be having its impact on several other economic variables as well. These would be again another subject matter of macroeconomic analysis. Next, we have to consider what is called fiscal policy. So what does it mean by fiscal policy? Here we consider the policy aspects of the government and especially the central government. So the government would be taking several decisions related to spending, taxation, borrowing, etc. We call these as the fiscal policies. Fiscal policies, right? So definitely when government adjusts its policies or government makes some kind of changes in its policies, it will be affecting the aggregate demand in the economy, it will be affecting the economic growth, income distribution, welfare, and so on. And for the very same reason, it's very, very important to understand the fiscal policy of the central government, which again is another important topic which comes under the macroeconomic analysis. Next is monetary policy, which is the policy equivalent when it comes to the money aspect of the country. So monetary policy is the policy taken by the central bank of a nation. So what the central bank would be doing here is it will be managing the money supply of the economy. It will be managing the money supply through various instruments. It will be using some tools. It will be using certain aspects like interest rate, etc. So these instruments like interest rate, open market operations, etc., would be making the central bank to have a control over the money supply in the economy, and this would be enabling the central bank to have some economic objectives. It will be able to, central bank will be able to attain some economic objectives by going for these instruments to deal with the money supply in the economy. So monetary policy would always help the country to attain a particular level of inflation or economic activity or financial market behavior. So by going for some targeted level. In the case of India, we are having some inflation targeting system. When we consider the economic activity scenario, we always go for a targeted level of GDP and so on. So the intention of the central bank is to have a regulation over money supply so as to attain these kind of targets. Now we have what is called balance of payment. So what does it mean by balance of payment? It's a systematic account of all economic transaction of a country with the rest of the world. So we consider these economic transactions over a particular period of time. Usually it will be a year. So it will include the trade flows, capital flows, international borrowing, etc. You'll be having the current account, capital account, and so on. And this is again another important aspect to be considered under microeconomic analysis. Coming to balance of payment, the assessment of the very same was very, very important to understand the financial position of a particular nation when it considers its connection with the rest of the world. And definitely the impact on foreign exchanges, the exchange rate, international competitiveness, etc., etc., again would be studied under this scenario. Next, we have something called economic growth. The main idea to focus here is economic growth. So we need to understand the factors which would be contributing to economic growth. And when we consider economic growth, we can have usually two aspects to consider. One is the short-run economic growth and the other one is the long-run economic growth. So it's always important to focus on long-run economic growth by having something called sustainable kind of economic growth. So here you need to consider the productivity kind of thing, innovation, investment, improving the living standard of people, reduction of poverty, increasing employment opportunities, or reducing unemployment, things like that. So this is yet another aspect to consider under microeconomic analysis. Then you have business cycle. So what happens in a business cycle? So you are dealing with some fluctuation, isn't it? So this fluctuation means you will be having a boom. Sometimes you will be having a depression in some other times. Sometimes what happens? It will be a recessionary phase in the economy, or recession. And in some other times, it will be a kind of recovery phase. So the economy is actually having some fluctuation. It's not like the economy is taking a steady path like this, or it's not like the economy will be always be growing. So understanding the business cycle fluctuations of contraction and expansion would again be acting as an important aspect of macroeconomic analysis, because we have to understand what is the real cause of the fluctuations to understand the real cause. So it's to mitigate the adverse effect of such downturns by having appropriate policies as well, which is yet another aspect to be taken under macroeconomic analysis. Then we need to thus understand that macroeconomy or macroeconomics will take into consideration the aggregate aspects. And when we consider macroeconomic analysis, it deals with the analysis of various indicators and factors which affect the economy as a whole. So what policymakers, businessmen, investors, etc. would be using here is that they will be using these indicators so as to understand the performance of the economy. And then they will be using these indicators to make some informed decision. So why are you saying this is the informed decision? Because these indicators would be providing the decision makers with some information. So since they are having these information with these people, they will be taking informed decision. They make decision on the basis of these information. And again, such kind of information is very, very important so as to have decisions to be taken to attain economic stability, growth, welfare, well-being, and so on. So that's it for today. Now, one thing I would like to tell you here is that if you're a person who are actually actively preparing for some competitive exam for your upcoming sessions, especially focusing on economics, I'm talking about something that is identified to be a very, very helpful scenario for you. This is a very, very helpful platform for you, which is Learn Oikonomia app. You will be able to get previous year question papers and answers here. Free study materials would be provided here. Live as well as recorded classes is available. Free MCQ based weekly test is again available here. What you have to do here is you can download the app. I'll be providing the link of the same in the description box. Also, you can join our free Telegram community. I'll be providing the link of this as well in the description box. That's it. Thank you for watching. You can like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos. Thank you.